Alright guys, well, we are now in the city of Astana, or as it was formerly known, Nur Sultan, or as it was also known before, Akmolinsk, back from the Russian Empire days. What you see behind me is a Death Star. I'm just joking, it's actually an exhibition center. It's been built here when the World Expo was happening here in Kazakhstan, and it's one of those huge monumental structures that that were built in the city. But when you drive with the taxi drivers here, they refer to it as a Death Star, and they say every night it disappears and goes and destroys some faraway galaxy, far away. But it kind of looks like it. I gotta give them credit where it's due. But we are in Astana. This is the capital of Kazakhstan. It's been a capital since 1997. Actually, the first city that we've been to, Almaty, that was the original capital. It was a capital for something like 70 years. It was a capital of the Soviet Kazakh Republic. And then when Kazakhstan got its independence, the president, Nursultan Nazarbayev, decided to start fresh. So he said, you know what, let's just build a brand new city somewhere in the central steppes of Kazakhstan, smack in the middle of the country, and we will relocate there. And the reason for that was, there was quite a few actually. One was Almaty is in a very earthquake-ridden place, so every now and then the whole city basically gets destroyed by huge earthquakes. The last one happened about 100 years ago. And also Almaty is sort of like, it's an indent. It's placed in an indent in the land and surrounded by mountains. So all the cars and all the fumes that happen there every day sort of stagger there, and they don't have a way to get out. So when you're there, you can actually see a huge smog that never quite leaves. You can't really see the mountains because of that. So because of the environmental reasons and the central location, they decided to choose this place, which was sort of provincial town, not that big, and yeah, relocated here. And so for the next 20 years, starting in 1994, they started building the city up. So literally everything that you're gonna see has been built in the last 20 years, which is quite unique. It is literally one man's dream, primarily Nursultan Nazarbayev's dream, and that's why up till recently it was actually called Nur Sultan after him. So there we are. We're gonna check out some cool places today. First up we're gonna do is the National Museum. So we're gonna learn more about history of Kazakhstan. Gonna see some really cool artifacts. I'm really excited to show you guys what we're gonna find. Let's go. All right guys, well, we took a short drive and we are right by the National Museum. Look at this beautiful building. You know, the whole city, I'm so amazed. Like, the projects that they took on are so grandiose. The only thing that I can compare it to is maybe like Dubai or Abu Dhabi, you know, those grandiose buildings with beautiful design, sort of futuristic look to it. That's sort of what Astana is like. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. You know, there's many civilian buildings here. There's a beautiful mosque right there. Maybe we'll check it out after we're done with our museum trip. But yeah, just fantastic. A really beautiful city. Yeah, here's the main museum building, the National Museum of Kazakhstan. A unique design, to be sure. Let's go explore. Let's go explore. Oh, look at that. That is really neat. Wow, look at this view. Oh, beautiful mosque. And here we have a statue. And I wonder to which period Because Kazakhstan used to be a part of the Golden Horde, sort of the inheritant empire after Genghis Khan's death. Then it was a part of Kazakhstan Khaganate, which is sort of more local Kazakh empire. It was just on the territory of modern Kazakhstan. But here, it's actually quite unique. Look at that. You see this man right there? So this is really cool, because what you're looking at here is the statue of a golden man. The golden man that was found in the Saka mounds nearby to Almaty, where we were just a few days ago. They found, they excavated one of the mounds, and they were so surprised because usually they would be already looted by treasure hunters, but this one wasn't, and it is one of the best preserved examples of a Scythian era cloth of royalty. And this is what, you know, in real life this would be made out of red textile and plastered with golden ornaments. And I think we'll see the actual artifact, the actual thing that they found there inside the National Museum, but this is just sort of the history of it. And I think as we go around, the idea is that we see different time periods of Kazakhstan. So this is from the Saka time. This is sometime BC, so maybe like 4th century BC from the Scythian era. And then what I suspect is maybe these ones are from different periods, although they also look Scythian to me. You can sort of tell by the shape of the hats. You see they're sort of elongated on the top, and the ornaments are very Scythian. So this makes me think that this monument is dedicated to that period of time when the Scythian Saka tribes used to roam these lands. And you know, we'll walk around and we'll see more. This building right there is very unique. This is a palace of reconciliation, and supposedly there's a place for worship of something like 10 different religions there. So we're signifying the freedom of worship in Kazakhstan. So it's a sort of like a safe space for different religions. But yeah, this is so cool. Look at this monument. You can sort of imagine, it's almost lifelike, maybe just a little bit bigger, but you can sort of imagine how these folks would have looked in the times of old, thousands of years ago, roaming these steppes, bringing terror to the enemies. All right, but for us, it is time to walk into this grandiose museum. It's really breathtaking. Like, I like this, I really do. Very unique. Yeah, there we are. All right, guys, so we're inside, and I just wanted to show you something. So there you go. This is a map of Kazakhstan, and as you can see, the Astana right there is still named Nur-Sultan, as sort of was the initial intention. And then here you have sort of the centerpiece actually of a Kazakh flag, the flying eagle and the sun over the eagle. And then right there, I believe you have the statue of Nur-Sultan Nazarbayev himself sitting on the chair. Very Lincoln-esque, something that you can maybe see on the Capitol building there in Washington. But yeah, let's walk up closer and check it out. As you can see, sort of as you walk in, there's paintings of the times of old from the old rulers of Kazakhstan, and then right away you see the portrait of Nur-Sultan Nazarbayev that led this country for more than, well, not more, but around 30 years almost 30 years. He was a man that ruled it all for almost last 3 decades. And more beautiful paintings. And then here's the monument itself. Look at that. How cool is that? You don't see this very often. Usually these things get built sort of after the death of the leader, but during the lifetime it's quite rare to see monuments like that. But here it is. Nursultan Nazarbayev monument in the National Museum. Alright, let's keep going. Here's more statues. This is of Khan Abalai, which is one of the prominent rulers of the Middle Ages of here in Kazakhstan. Of course, Kazakhstan being an Islamic nation since the really 1,000 years ago, we have beautiful examples of the Korans and other Islamic writings here in this room. Quite unique. It's kind of cool because you can see different styles that the Quran was written. This one is dating back to the 7th century, so very, very early, right after the foundation of Islam. So as I told you, the Golden Man is an artifact that is a focal point of archaeological pride for Kazakhstan. And here you can sort of see all the different exhibitions that this artifact has traveled. We have the Red Square, Russia there, Paris, and Italy, and United States, and Malaysia. But alright guys, this is gonna be really cool. Look at this, a whole of ancient Turkic civilization. This is a civilization that sort of united all these ancient lands here. Not just Kazakhstan, but Mongolia also, and parts of Iran, Tajikistan's, Uzbekistan's. They all had this sort of same history. So let's learn more about it. So the Turkic culture, symbolized in Turkic Kaghanate, is actually dates back to the 6th century AD. And it predates actually Genghis Khan, because you know when you think of Genghis Khan, you think that's the claim to fame of the steppe people, but not really. Genghis Khan came some like 500-600 years after. This is the original influence of the steppe people, and what we see here is one of the most known artifacts from that era, the stone structures, stone figures, and these would be placed on the mounds of the deceased, probably nobleman. The more sophisticated ones would be dedicated to the noble graves, and then more simpler ones would be just to sort of usual folks, but they are sort of iconic. This one, let's see, 5th to 7th century. It's found in Kazakhstan. And this is yeah, 6th to 7th century our era. But these are found all over the steppe regions, and also in the Eurasian regions. Like you can actually find them in parts of modern Russia and Ukraine. Look at that. Very interesting. So in this museum we have a unique opportunity to look at this ancient empire, the Turkic Kaghanate. This is sort of what a typical Turkic person would look at the time. See, maybe quite different from today's Kazakhs, but not too different. The facial features are a little bit less Mongolic, but still. So let me tell you a little bit more about this Kaghanate. It's just to understand the sheer size of it. Look at the stretch of land that it took. It went all the way from China, through Mongolia, Kazakhstan, present-day Caucasus, Russia, and all the way to Ukraine. So it was a huge empire. And when they were celebrating their noble people after death, they would erect these stone sculptures, also known as the guards of the Great Steppe. And they would sort of be either personification of a god or a person itself, but they would sort of be placed on top of the mound. And they would stand there on top, right in the middle of the steppe, and protect the diseased and the afterlife. There's thousands of these been found in the ancient territories of the Turkic Khaganate. Khaganate is just like sort of the way, like an empire, you know, like that's what they called it, Turkic Khaganate. But then, in the 6th, 7th century, it split apart, and part of it was split into east, the other one was in the west. So check out the outreach of the east. As you can see, this is the modern day Kazakhstan right here. This is Russia, and that's modern day Ukraine. So that's where the Crimea is, and all the south regions of Ukraine. So huge influence this empire had on the history and the development of people in the 6th and 7th century of our era. Yeah, and this is the East Turkic Khaganate, as you can see, all the way to basically modern day North Korea right there. That's North Korea right there. So all of this Siberian, modern day China would have been a part of this Khaganate. But yeah, look at those beautiful gravestones that were found. This one is from the 9th and 10th century AD. So you can just sort of imagine, you know, you're riding your horse through the steppes, and far away on the mound you will see this sort of just solemnly standing there overlooking the steppes, protecting the dwellers of the mound. Who knows what stories the stones could tell about the people that were buried there. They weren't simple people. They were definitely either famous war leaders or kings of the Huns of the area. Really cool. But actually, something else I wanted to show you is blow your mind. So unfortunately, unlike these stones, which are original, just the original stones taken from the top of the mounds, from the steppes, these next artifacts are not. They're copies, but they're so cool. By the way, this is sort of how the mound would look like. As you can see, you know, there would be sort of the entrance, and here in the center would be where you would bury the dead, and then around it is the pile of stones that would be placed on top of it. And this is just the facial of the Khagan, the ruler of the land there. But look at this. This is really unique. So these are all copies, but really good quality copies that have been found here in the surrounding areas. And what you see is actually an ancient writing system of the Turkic era. Look at that. So this dates back to the 8th century. As you can see, there's been already sophisticated system of writing. This was found in Mongolia. Monument of Doludoi. Monument of Doludoi from the 8th century AD. What fascinates me even more is check out these writings. So this is stelas found in Mongolia as well from the 8th century. But what does this remind you of? The writing. Of course, this reminds of of the Nordic runic inscriptions. Look at that. That is so neat. This is almost exactly what we've seen on the rune stones in Denmark and Norway. Look at that. Here's another stela. This is a second stela. El Etmish Bilge Kagan. Again from Mongolia from the 8th century. But look at that. Oh, too bad we can't see the real ones. I'd really, really like to see the real ones, but it's fascinating. This one is from, again, 8th century stela of Ton Ukok. Again from Mongolia. But look at that. That's basically Norwegian runes. I mean, obviously they're different, but the style of writing, just how they were written, some of the symbols, they're so reminiscent, like, you know, this symbol and like, wow. This is fascinating. I didn't know this. I didn't know that there's ancient runic language that was flourishing here in Kazakh steppes and Mongolia. I really want to research more about this and find out sort of how did one flew, how did one transpire into the other? Did it originate here and then go to Norway? Is it opposite? Or perhaps it had a source and one branch went to the steppes and one went to Europe? I'm not an expert, I don't know, but look at that. So cool. Well, check this out. So this monument right here, I think this is an original one actually. And supposedly dates back to the 8th century. On one side, you can find the Chinese inscriptions. You see, the Chinese characters. But on the other side, you can find the runic inscriptions. Look at that. So I understand the runic inscriptions were more of a steppe way of writing things. And in fact, it's quite unique what it says. There's a little plaque here and it kind of describes what these runic things say. So I'm just gonna read them. So it reads, "There were cock blue Turks between the two boundaries, having neither rulers nor masters. Wise Khagans were they, great Khagans were they. Their officials, too, were wise and brave, indeed. They were great, too. Both the lords and the people were straightforward and honest. For this reason, Khagans were able to rule the state." Then another one reads, "All having heard that they were off on a campaign, those who were in towns went off to fields, and those who were in mountains went down, gathered together 70 brave men. Tengri gave them power. My father's army was like wolves, and their enemies were like sheep. When the blue sky above the brown earth below were created, between them human beings were created, or the human beings my ancestors, Bumin Kagan and Istemi Kagan ruled. They ruled people by Turkish law. They led them and succeeded." And yet another inscription reads, "From all four sides there were enemies. They sent their lands-bearing armies to conquer all those people in 4 quarters of the world and made them still. They made bow those who had heads and made kneel those who had knees. To eastward of the Kadarkhan mountain forest and westward as far as the Iron Gate they went on campaign." So these are just some of the translation of these runic writings from the 8th century here in the as found in the steppes. Look how cool this is. This is called Monument to Kultegin, a military leader, as I understand. But I think it's so neat that in the inscriptions you can find the god Tengri, which is of course one of the most significant pre-Islamic gods that sort of ruled the people here in the steppes. And god Tengri was a god of the sky. He was sort of the supreme deity that the steppe people worshipped. We'll do more on him, but it's so cool that you can find a mention of him on the stela here in Kazakhstan, also written in runic inscriptions. Like, how cool is that, eh? And of course, the horse was the main vehicle through which these people traveled and waged wars. And this is some of the unique artifacts from the horse sheath. This is the ornaments that will be placed on the horse, as you can see, really neat. This is the 8th to 9th century AD. Very cool. All right, guys, I'm now walking to the Golden Room. This is where the most prized possessions of this museum are held. But as we walk, I just wanted to show you this sort of bulby room. So as we walk to the main one, get to walk through this cool little light room. Kind of trippy. Wanted to show you. Anyway, let's check this out. Ooh, this is cool. So this exhibition is actually dedicated to the history and culture of mining. Kazakhstan is very rich in the underground resources. So this shows workers developing ore back in the 7th and 8th century AD. So you can see, just imagine how hard of the labor this was, you know. Minimal safety, just a few wooden planks, and you know, you would hope that you would get maybe a silver or gold or some kind of ore, and then once you find it, you just keep digging, and everything is done by hand. But this is sort of what it looked like, and this is what would then allow the empire to be rich, because then you can trade these metals, get other goods that you can't produce locally, right? So this is the basic. It's like the oil and gas rush right now in the world. This is how important this was to those people back then. And this is just a little bit more about the metal processing. So once you get the ore, you have to make something out of it, melt it down, sort of distill it. And this is what the process would look like. You know, they would heat it up, get rid of all the imperfections, and then pump out actual metal. And then the craftsmen would do their part. And as you can see, this fella here will then be making the golden ornaments out of the precious metals that they found. But now, I believe we're walking towards the most significant artifacts. This is the gold of the ancient steppe people. So these actually date to 7th and 6th century BC, so before our era. So this, of course, would date it to the Saka region, which is basically Scythian. So what you're looking at is the Scythian gold of the steppes. As you can see, here's the pictures of a bird. You see a little beak there and wings. So this supposedly would signify the heavenly realms. The birds were representation of the upper levels of the universe. Here we have more gold pieces. These would be just simple arrow kind of addition to arrows, so you would put them on your arrows, maybe for a parade of some sort. Yeah, this is all 7th, 6th century BC. This is kind of neat. Look at this. So on a first glance, it looks like two hoofed animals looking at each other, but also it kind of looks like a part of a helmet. You see where the eyes would be, sort of thing. Yeah, so kind of very classic Scythian design. So the hoofed animals would of course then represent our earthly state, so where people lived together was like hoofed animals. There's more. Some predators. Predators were supposed to be in the lower parts of the universal setting, so sort of like hell. Again, 6th and 5th century BC. These are just beautiful examples of Scythian gold design. Look at this. This almost looks like a swastika. Huh. Just makes you wonder like how much overlap these cultures had, right? It was like old Hindu mythology and like Vedic religion, and how much that crisscrossed with this. Some say that there was a direct connection, and sometimes you look at these artifacts and you go like, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, there's more hoofed, I think, animals here. These are, what are these? Just some ornaments. Oh, this is neat. Look at this. Some kind of amulet. Wow. Again, 6th century, 5th century BC. Some earrings. A hand bracelet. Yeah, in Scythian art, you very often see these, well, not often, you almost always see these animal motifs, usually of hoofed animals or birds or predators. That's sort of sums up most of the motifs that you find. But this is so unique, you know, you barely have any opportunity to look at these artifacts up close, and I'm just so happy that we stopped by here, because this is so unique. What we're looking at here, let's see. This is an amulet with wolf fangs. Huh. It's some earrings again. Very delicate work, look at that. Very cool. Yeah, more delicate gold work here. You see some hoof, like mountain goats right there. More mountain goats here. More ornaments with wolf fangs in there. That's pretty cool. Because, you know, you would sort of, if you have a part of an animal that is sacred, it would sort of tell you then that you're protected by the spirit, right? So people would wear that for good luck. Base, look at that. Scythian gold. Wow. This is a little bit more sophisticated. So this is gold with precious stones. What is this, number 1? Hook. Okay. Based. Wow. Look at that. See some pendants and plaques and beads. Wow. As you can kind of look through them, you can sort of get a sense for what Scythian designs look like. The motifs repeat themselves so often. Oh, and this is cool. Look at this. This is a dagger. Gold plated. Wow. This is 4th to 2nd century BC. Wow. So as you can see, we're sort of moving up in time. So now we're looking at the 3rd and 2nd century BC, and you can see the sophistication on some of them is even more pronounced. This is very cool. Never had an opportunity to film Scythian gold before. Wow, beautiful. So here's more artifacts. So here you can see the buckles in the shape of mountain lions. This is also 5th and 4th century BC. This is quite fantastic. Look at this. So this is plaques. But what is fascinating is you can see the hoofed animals and the predators, but you can also see mountains. And this is because it is sort of hypothesized that the culture, the Scythian culture, sort of came from the mountain region, and so their mythology supposedly has been built around the region where they originated from. That was the mountains, and sort of the higher you go up in the mountain, the closer you would get to God. And so all of this has a very, very theological significance to that ancient Scythian culture. Ooh, look at this. Here we see a dagger. Look how interestingly it's designed. It's gold plated with the same animal motifs all along. Wow, look at that. Here, again, we have another plaque made in the shape of the mountains, which is sort of very holy for the Scythians here, the Saka tribes. But then if you look up, you see the figures of birds, and supposedly birds were like the representation of the heaven and the theology of Scythians. So this would be, you know, the very top of the theological ideology. Really cool. Yeah, lots of mountains. Lots of mountains, which is so important because it really gives you an idea where this people might have originated from. Probably a mountainous region. It's really cool. Look at this. There's a ring dating back to the 5th century BC, and it represents a person with the rays of sun going from all around its head. So a sun person. So is it a deity? Is that a representation of the ultimate God, or maybe something else? Who knows? But it is known that people at the time primarily worshipped the deities of the sun. So perhaps this is the visualization of the supreme deity of these Scythian tribes. It's really cool. This next thing that I want to show you will absolutely blow your mind. So when we were traveling in Norway, we saw a lot of runic inscriptions. Most of them dated to sort of 1st century AD, so 2,000 years back. And this is considered to be the old Futhark, which is the ancient runic language there in Nordic region. And then it sort of evolved into a new Futhark, but we don't find much older runic inscription there than 2,000 years. But here in the museum of Astana, we found a artifact from from 5th to 4th century BC. So some 500 years older than what we saw in Nordic regions, of runic inscriptions. How cool is that? Almost 500 years older than what we've seen so far. So let me show you this. So here is a little bowl, and on there, I don't know if you can see, if the angle is right, but these little writings, here's a printout of what it says here. And of course, look at this. This is the runic letters that we're all so used to. Can you see that? There's the, well, basically just, yeah, the old Futhark runes can be found here on this small metal bowl from 500 BC. Look at that. How cool is this? So what does that tell us? Does that tell us anything about the origins of runes? Perhaps. But yeah, I don't think they're still able to decipher what it says. Perhaps you have any ideas, leave in the comment below. But this, I think, is a very significant artifact because it really sheds a lot of light on the history of runes. So this is found in Almaty, in that same burial ground where the Golden Man was found. How cool is that? Wow. And of course, this is the man himself. This is the Golden Man. It's found in the mounds of Almaty. This is, of course, the recreation. So this is not the original. I think the original clothes kind of disintegrated, but this gives you a good view of what it looked like. We saw something like this, remember, in museum in Almaty? There was another recreation there. But look how magnificent this gentleman looked. And here's the mountains that we just saw. And this is kind of how everything would be placed. Like I said in the previous video, you have the birds on the very top, and then you have, so that's maybe like a heaven, so that would maybe represent heaven. Then you have the mountains, which signify the earthly realms with predators and well, actually it was hoofed animals and whatnot. And then lower you have sort of the underworld with the predators and the fish. So you know, everything has significance. It's not just ornaments. These artifacts have very spiritual meaning. Wow, look at that. And like I said, perhaps, you know, him being crowned with these hoofed goats, mountain goats, maybe that signifies that he's the king of the earthly realm. Wow, look at that. Very cool. Wow. Okay. Here's the other gold parts that we saw in the recreation of this man. So this would be the sort of the belt buckles. What I think we're looking at is sort of the parts of the Golden Man on the exhibits here, and then there's the recreation behind me, but this is the actual golden pieces that made up his clothes, you know. Very unique. Wow, there's just so much here, you know. And this is, of course, would be placed in the center of his clothes, all these golden pieces. Wow. And here, there's another room sort of to the side. First of all, it shows you, this is the painting of the mounds themselves, the ones that are found in Almaty. As you can see, there's like little villages there, and then these are the kurgans, the mounds themselves. So this is where the the Golden Man was found. But what's unique about this room, it just shows you how much crisscross happened between the cultures in this area. So all of this was found here in Kazakhstan. But here you have the Roman coins. So this tells you about the trade with the Roman Empire. You see? Yeah, look at that. And then other different artifacts. This one, I'm not sure. I'll have to look up. Looks kind of Greek or maybe Iranian. It's called phalars. Yeah, not sure what that is, but looks pretty cool. Phalars. Yeah, look at that. And then also you can find here these things. Rhython. Not sure about this one, but this is really interesting. So this is suspensions with the image of Sphinx. So you have some Egyptian influences that can be found here, as well as Greek. This is actually taken from the dagger handle, and this represents the Greek deity of satire. How cool is that? Also, of course, China. You can find all sorts of ancient Chinese coins in this lens as well. Find this one quite interesting. Look at that. Yeah. Really unique. And here on this wall we can find gold gilded wooden carvings of different animals, again from the Saka period. So this is 4th, 3rd century BC. You can see all these mythical animals, a lot of hoofed animals, a lot of predators, basically the kind of animals you would find in the mountains, right? Yeah. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Wow, look at that. Look at that. This is really fascinating. As you can see, the griffins are a recurring symbol in the ideology as well. These are the carvings of griffins, gold-plated. Again, this is, let's see, 4th to 3rd century BC. Really neat. Cats. And this, actually, is something that is very interesting. So what you're looking at here is the representation of a bird called samruk. And there's a very important history that goes along with it that I'll tell you a little bit further. But there you go, samruk. Okay, you can see more of the same sort of thing, more of the carvings of the hoofed animals. And well, this is kind of interesting. What is this? Let's see. It's just a symbol S. I'm not sure what that represents, but more griffins. This looks like that same samruk bird. Interesting. Oh, this is big. Look at this. This is an ornament made out of wool, but actually represents a fish. More cat-like heads. A lot of floral. Actually, I don't know if that's floral, or maybe that's... kind of looks like human figures to me. Interesting. Wow. Yeah, you can definitely start noticing some recurring themes here, huh? So deer and whatnot are reoccurring in these things. It's cool. Look at this. There's some pendants in the shape of a sphinx. So this dates to 4th and 3rd century BC, and they're found in East Kazakhstan. So makes you wonder: is there connection to the Egyptian Empire? Did they get it from there, or was a sphinx more of a well-known symbol that they borrowed regardless of Egypt? I don't know. There's some design of two elks sort of facing each other off. Really cool. What is this? This is a... So this would be placed on the head. This would be an ornament to a headwear. This is a deer. Let's see. This is the fangs of a boar. There's some winged horse. Again, same moose, two moose facing each other off, or two deer. So all of this dates back to the 4th and 3rd century BC. So ancient stuff, guys, ancient stuff. What a treat to be able to see these Scythian artifacts in real life. There's another griffin figure from 4th and 3rd BC. Look at that. Very cool. Wow. Here we can see more buckles with animal motifs. There's deers with some precious stones in there. Arrowheads. Daggers. Look at that. Beautiful. This dates to, let's see, 8th to 7th century BC. Wow. And I think there's more on this side. Yep. Yeah, as you can see, bird motifs, a lot of this. Griffins. Yeah, this is 8th to 7th century BC. It's a little bit older than the stuff we just saw. Wow. Oh my, look at that. Oh, this is really cool. Look at that. This is again 8th century BC. Found in East Kazakhstan. Look at those, wow. Wow, look at that. This is an animal, argali. And there's deer right there. Wow. So we are now on the second floor. And here we can have more examples of what the people look like. So this is what a woman would look like in these areas in the Bronze Age. Look at that. Very cool. Oh, as we can find, this is some more images of griffins. Very popular mythical animal in the Scythian times. Ooh, what is this? What the heck is this? Not too sure what we're looking at here. I guess it's some kind of artifacts. This is a tree trunk from the 4th century BC. It's kind of cool. Okay, this is kind of unique. So what you're looking at is a wood carving of a pillow. And so this is what would be placed inside the mound, and the head of the deceased would be placed on this wooden pillow. And this was found, this is a 4th century BC, found again in East Kazakhstan. So I'm not sure if you noticed or not, but I love my Scythians. I think it's such a fascinating and somewhat overlooked empire that stretched all the way from the Siberia Altai region of Russia to the basically modern day Hungary. It's fascinating. You know, being from Eastern Europe, you know, there's a little bit of Scythians in us as well, because they sort of lived on the current like Eastern Russia and Ukraine. So it fascinates me because these people that then came and basically ruled over parts of southern Ukraine were originally from somewhere here. And so coming here, it's like you reconnect with your ancestors and you get to know where they came from. And the empire was so large. So on the other side of the empire, this would be the Altai Scythian nobility. As you can see, the art, the designs would largely be the same. This is why the scientists say that this was largely the same empire, was the same culture. As we walk out, here's a pretty cool rug. Here's Nazarbayev in the center of peace and whatnot, and all the people united behind him. Kind of neat. Well, guys, this was really, really cool. I am so fascinated by this museum. You know, we saw some of the oldest known artifacts to be found in Kazakhstan. We saw sort of the old Turkic kingdom, which was a powerhouse that ruled these lands in the beginning of our era. And we also saw the Golden Man. That fellow on the horse right there. We saw the recreation of the suits, his suit, and also each little part, the golden fragments that were found. And of course that was found in Almaty, the city that we just visited a few days ago. So that was so cool, because you don't get to see the culture of Scythians that often. Sometimes it sort of gets overlooked, but it was such a huge culture group, the Scythians. They spanned all the way from the Altai region there in Russia and Central Asia here, and spread all the way through modern Ukraine and all the way to Hungary. They sort of occupied that whole steppe land, and it was a huge culture. You know, you have Scythians in like central Ukraine with their mounds there, and you have Scythians, they call them Saka here, in Kazakhstan, but basically it was the same culture. So just to see the two spectrums of Scythian culture like that, so cool. We saw their gold, their ornaments, you know, the animal styled ornaments from the Scythian era made out of gold and wood. Just so unique, you know, just to see them in real life. This gigantic culture group is just fantastic. And one of the really interesting artifacts that I pointed out as we were walking through was this wooden image of a bird called Samruk. And it is quite a unique thing. So Samruk is a mythological bird that supposedly sits on top, as according to sort of the ancient Kazakh theology. It's this mythical creature that sits on top of the tree of life and sort of overlooks it all. So Kazakhs believed in ancient times that somewhere in the steppe where lands, somewhere in the steppes, there's a river, and on that river there is a tree, and they called that the tree of life. And so the branches of the tree would sort of hold up the sky, and the roots would go underneath into the underworld, and the trunk of the tree is sort of where the people resided, the earthly realm. And on the top of those branches sat this magical bird called Samruk. And this bird would often, well, not often, once a year, lay a golden egg in the branches of the tree. And from that golden egg would hatch its kids, its chicklings. But every year there would be a python that would be sort of waning its way through its branches, and it would gulp up the golden egg. And that would sort of represent the change of the seasons, the change of day to night, the change of winter to summer, and of course the rejuvenation of life life and death. And so that's sort of the theology behind that magical bird, Samruk, which would sort of sit on the top of the tree. And the wings, when it flapped its wings, it would create wind. And from its tears, the rivers would flow. And of course, when I hear that, I instantly think of the Yggdrasil, the tree of life, and the Nordic mythology. It's sort of the same, you know, like you have the tree of life, and you have the Asgard, and you have the sort of godly realms on top in the branches, and you have the hell beneath the roots of the tree, and then around the trunk you have the Midgard. That's where humans would live. And then there's also a python that sort of circumvents the Midgard, the human realm, and contains the water. And so, like, the symbolism is hard to miss. The similarity of symbolism is so hard to miss. And this is so fascinating, because now that we've been to the museum, we saw the runic inscriptions that basically 100% resemble those of the Nordic culture. It kind of makes you think. It's like, wow, well, what's going on here? Like, there's a lot of similarities to all of this. I read a little bit about this mythical bird, Samruk, and it appears that it actually originated in Iran. So it is a mythological creature out of Avesta. Avesta was a pre-Islamic religion in Iran, modern-day Iran, the Persian Empire. And so this mythical bird, that sometimes also referred to as a griffin, maybe, is what sort of, I guess, seeped out of the Persian Empire and made it influence here in the steppe culture. So it was adopted here, and in fact, there's even theories that there's some pre-Christian gods in the what today is Russian Empire that sort of also resemble that mythical bird. Sometimes it is it resembles a phoenix, sometimes it represents this griffin, but what an interesting thing. And to see that wooden artifact from like, what I think it was like 4th century BC here in the museum of this mythical bird, just sort of gives you the depth of how deep this mythological rivers run. And actually, where we're gonna go right now is sort of unifies all of that. So behind me, right there, is a stela commemorating the independence of Kazakhstan. And on top of the stela, right there, you'll see as we get closer, sits a bird. And that bird is, of course, the same bird, Samruk. And that sort of represents the connection that Kazakhstan has to the divinity, that this magical bird is overlooking this great new independent nation and sort of providing it with its blessings. So it's just sort of so fascinating to make these connections of ancient history and today's world and how it all connects. You know, you might look at it and be like, oh, it's just a bird, but, like, you know, the roots go very, very deep to the very, very foundation of the culture here in Kazakhstan. So anyway, without further ado, let's take a walk to the Independence Square. Let's see what that's like. And so behind the Independence Square, we will see another very iconic thing, iconic structure here in Kazakhstan. It is Hazrat Sultan Mosque, which used to be the largest mosque in all of Central Asia. I think it just got placed out by the new mosque they built here in Astana as well, which we're also gonna see. But this used to be for a long time the largest one, not just in the country, but in all of Central Asia. So we'll see that beautiful mosque as well as we make our way through this beautiful park. So let's go check it out. All right, guys, so here we are, the Independence Stela. This is the The monument, it looks like it's kind of closed off. I'm not sure how we're gonna get there. As you can see, it's all blocked off from this side. There you have the Palace of Independence. Doesn't look like a palace, more like an exhibition center, but that's what it is. And then here you have the main stela. And then on the bottom right there, there's depictions of major events that led to the independence of Kazakhstan. And then as you look up, there's our bird, Samruk, right there. Sort of a griffin-esque looking creature that sits what resembles to be like a golden egg that it laid. And that represents divine, kind of divine protection over the nation of Kazakhstan. The magical bird of Samruk sits and protects it and overlooks over its well-being. And then of course there's the mosque. Look how beautiful it is. Wow. I read that that dome is the largest dome in Kazakhstan. So you can only imagine how beautiful it looks on the inside. Yeah, there we go. Okay, where's the entrance? I'm starting to get worried. Wow. You know, very beautiful square. Like, look how spacious it is. Roads are huge. And there's the Center for Reconciliation. This is where different religions combine. And you can go there and pray in safety. There's representation of over 10 different religions there that make up the religious fabric of Kazakhstan. And it's a very unique place, this pyramid. We'll check it out as well. Let's see if we can get somehow closer. I honestly don't know how. All right, well, I'm not sure how to cross this, maybe on the other side, but this gives us a pretty good look. There you go. There's the Samruk bird of traditionally Persian culture that got sort of got transferred here to the steppes and has been venerated here as well. And then on the bottom you have different plaques to different heroes of independence, and of course front and center you see Nursultan Nazarbayev standing stoically and leading his country into the independence. So there you go, there's that. And then behind this building, I think, is a university. I'm not sure which one, but that's a university building right there. Really cool. Look at that. Very futuristic look to it. And then there's a Hazrat Sultan Mosque. Harzat Sultan Mosque. Look how beautiful that is. I think that's where we're gonna head right now. Gonna try to get close to the mosque and observe its beauty, and maybe even go inside if we have a chance.